Philly streets got a story to tell. Golden sun breaks the Liberty Bell. From the Trattoria to the stoop outside, feel good vibes in the city's pride.
Fuji's Philly flair, oh, it's everywhere. Good news flying like hands in the air. Hip hop grooves with a twist, so rare. Fuji's Philly flair, we're living the care.
Good evening, everyone. Mike Fuji here in another episode of Fuji's Philly Flair tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. I want to welcome my guest from Inside Hollywood with Vinny, award-winning filmmaker, influencer, host of Inside Hollywood with Vinny, Mr. Vinny Minniti. Minniti, Vince, welcome.
What's up, Fuji? It's a pleasure to be on your show, my man. It's a real honor. I love your show, I just must say. And I just watched one of my my buddies on your show not too long ago, Billy Zangi. So it's a great honor to be here.
Thank you. Well, I know we've been talking, and it's been a couple weeks since we do back and forth, and glad to get you on. And you're originally from South Philly. I was born down there, and I saw you interview Billy, and that's really how I got in touch with him, and talking some old school South Philly, and all that good stuff. And I want to just dive right into it. You came out at Washington Avenue back earlier this year. Can you touch on the mini film?
Absolutely. Well, Washington Avenue was something that I did out of many years of being frustrated by me having all this ideas and wanting to make a movie and wanting to just get that creativity out of me, which I think a lot of people can understand that are, whether it's music, whether it's filmmaking, whatever it is, you got that nagging desire to want to do something. So anyway, prior to that, we were working on something called the Pasta and Cheese Crew, which we were doing these skits. I came up with this idea a while back, maybe about over two and a half years ago, right, about these bubbling mobsters, and I figured why not like kind of lampoon all the mob stuff, because it was getting too serious for me,
Right.
So as I brought some friends into the mix, and we started doing these skits all over the city and different businesses. So it was a lot of fun, but we were supposed to do the actual film.
Mm-hmm.
Some things got delayed, so I said, you know what, man, I got to do something. And I committed, and this was last year, November of last year, and I just said, the hell with it, I'm doing it. So I wrote the script for the short movie called Washington Avenue. Mm-hmm. It was my first project, and I did it sort of a tribute piece to my neighborhood where I grew up, which is 10th and Christian, 10th and Catherine, that 10th and Carpenter, that whole little region near the Italian market in South Philly, and of course Washington Avenue. But it's a story about a guy who's 50 years old. He's reached his midlife crisis. His father just recently passes away, which you don't see in the actual movie, but it's part of the backstory. And so he's kind of losing his moral compass a little bit, not sure what he wants to do. So he's tired of being a butcher in the Italian market, wants to do something significant and something that brings him honor. And so he decides he wants to be a gangster. So he thinks by doing something crazy and there's a big score that he knows about. And so he approaches the local mobsters, and they pretend like they bring him in on it. But I don't want to give the whole story away. But it's right. Not a mob. It's really not a mob movie or a mob story. It's more of a it's a person's journey to understand themselves and what loyalty means and what respect means and what being honorable really means. So the theme is honor. What is honor?
Oh, I actually did see it, and I probably can relate a little. I'm 53 years old, but still, it's like kind of can relate because I've been to my job 26 years, and it's like, I feel like I need a change. And I know he went to Sal Mazzata, when he played the boss, and he wanted to get out. He found the money above the in the basement, but then he told the two guys that he changed his mind, and he went back to Sal Mazzata, and one gentleman came in and he gave him a pass, and Sal Mazzata was like, "Oh, I better not ever see you again." And he just told the guys, forget about it, and just went back to being the best guy cutting the chicken cutlets. I don't want to give too much away.
Spoiler alert, yeah. Well, and that my dear friend Sal
Yeah.
played he played Don Paulo, which is the antagonist. My dear friend Freddie Gano, who's he's a local legend. He's a great actor, SAG actor as well. He's been in a ton of stuff, and he did an amazing, outstanding job as the lead.
Right.
And we had Leo Procopio, another great. He did really well, and Frankie Scuderi. We had thanks to Anthony Renzulli from 10th and Tasker, the Twin Shop. He let us use his place, and also my dear buddy over there, Jules over at Esposito Porchetta. He let me use that place for the butcher shop scenes, and a lot of people helped us, man. Tony Nix helped us out. We had a lot of sponsors, a lot of people that helped us make it happen. And look, it worked out great. It was a great learning experience. It was just a bunch of us getting together and just filming it, and it came out beautifully. And I give a lot of credit to people who helped me with that, with the editing and the DP and everybody. They did a really good job.
Nice.
Nick Lanciano, another local guy he did a lot. So I give Nick a lot of credit. He did a great job on it. He helped edit it as well as he filmed it. It came out beautifully. So I was really happy with it. So besides that, we just actually wrapped Pops and Cheats Crew. We shot that 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was filmed over at the Westville Brewery in Westville, New Jersey.
Okay.
Shout out to Westville Brewery. They did a great job, a great place. And so we wrapped that up. It's in post-production now. I have Tainted Things, which is a thriller that I'm writing to be a series. I got Old Guard, which is sort of, as I mentioned before we started the show, that's a series too that I'm going to be pitching with. It's like a combination of Boardwalk Empire with maybe a little bit of Carlito's Way, The Wire. It's kind of that element, and I think it's something that really hasn't been done, and it's very unique. So going to have
sounds interesting.
Yeah, and we already have talks with a few people. I don't want to mention their names, but that are significant players. So let's see what happens with that.
Matter of fact, I got a couple pictures I want to bring up here. I think looks like you were like, can you see that?
Yeah. That's when on right in front of Twin Shop we were doing. We were shooting that day for I believe that was day 1 of 2. Right. Day 1 we were doing Washington Avenue. Yeah.
Well, you directed it, produced it, and
I wrote it, produced it, directed it. So it was my first time. It was a lot of fun. It was a great learning experience. I kind of gave a lot of people a lot of sort of leeway to just kind of do what they felt was good for their characters. I was very open to different people's opinions, and ultimately I made the decisions I wanted to make with it.
Right.
Davide Petrillo, who played the Don at the end, who comes down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job. I encouraged him to use the Italian, so he speaks a bit of Italian. So it was really a lot of fun. These guys did a really great job. They all did a great job.
Matter of fact, I was going to pull up the one.
Joey I. Let me mention Joey I. He's been in a lot of stuff. Joey I is a great friend of mine who did an amazing job. And there I go, right? And there goes we got Frankie right next to me, and then
right
in the middle is Freddie Gano, Gary Giraldo to the right, and then Leo Procopio holding the meat,
right.
As usual.
Nice. Yeah. Matter of fact, I don't know if one of the pictures you just sent me is with Joey I, because I did see your one interview, but maybe I'm wrong on this one.
That's Joey I. Yep, that's the one and only Joey I, my main man.
Now,
and Joey.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Joey actually he's the consultant for Sylvester Stallone. Anytime there was a Rocky movie come to town, he was actually in Rocky 1. He was a little boy. He was running, and so he's been in. I think he's been in just about every one of them. But he actually was directly responsible for a lot of the boxing consultation going on with Stallone when he shot several of the Rocky movies.
Matter of fact, I was going to say, a couple of your interviews that I was watching that you were in was it Rocky Balboa that you were in?
I was in. Yeah, actually, I was. I was going. I was on my way to work, and they were filming it right down the street. Because remember, I was from 10th and Christian,
Right.
and they were shooting at 9th and Christian, right in the Italian market. So I was like, I was kind of like early for work. I said, let me go see if I can get a sneak peek at Stallone.
Right.
So not only did I get a sneak peek at him, they actually a PA or someone on the set invited me on to be in a scene with him. So I actually did 2 scenes with him.
Nice.
It was really cool. I mean, I got to hang out with him and his brother Frank. And he did a couple scenes. I had like 1 or 2 lines, and then I'm all excited. I'm bragging to everybody. I want to be in it, and and then when it came out, I wasn't in. I was like, "What the hell happened?" So I learned very quickly how you could be a victim of the editing room floor. So
Actually, I have a friend who dresses up in the Apollo Creed outfit. He's a big Phillies fan. You've probably seen him. He's usually out by the Harry the Case statue at CBP, and his name's he was an amateur boxer in college. I believe he went to Lycoming. His name's Tony Tornado Panical, and he actually had the suit custom made, like the Apollo with the hat, the long robe. So he was actually I believe he was in the Rocky part remember when he was fighting Mason Dixon. I believe he was in like the bar scene, like the Rocky went in the beginning.
okay,
On Kensington Ave. So you might have
nice.
seen him on TV during the Phillies games, but he's pretty, he's always getting his picture taken, and with the costume on and all.
These movies, the more you watch them, the more you catch more and more things you never think you don't remember.
I mean, hey, I myself pretty much know every line from at least the first 5, or and it's. I don't know about did you happen to ever have the honor to meet Sly Stallone?
Yeah. I mean, I actually got to hang out and talk with him and his brother. He was really busy, but he was really Frank Stallone. Yep. And then he gave me, they both gave me an autograph, which
Nice.
Which was cool. Now I would feel funny about asking him because I'm not so starstruck as I used to be.
Right.
But it was cool, man. He was really laid back. I asked him if he knew certain people from the neighborhood, which I don't want to really mention on here, that were a little notorious, but he did. See, the thing is, his stepfather, he owned the cheese business, and his stepfather knew a lot of guys from the neighborhood too, and so he was Italian, a lot of Italian guys from the neighborhood. So the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Joey I actually told me another story about, because he knows the story even more intimately than I do. But the stepfather had a business, and Stallone actually worked on the docks, so that's where he got the idea to kind of do those scenes on the docks, and so it was pretty interesting. So he's and he was really cool. He was really laid back. He spoke like us. He didn't put on any airs. Consequently, years later, in 2008, I wound up living in LA for a little while, and I was working in Beverly Hills at a place called Il Fornaio, and I used to see Frank Stallone all the time, because there's a bar over there called Cafe Roma where all the celebrities hang out. So I used to see him a lot, and he remembered me. It was pretty cool.
Remember your one interview, you talked about you were originally a waiter out in that place you just mentioned, and the other spot that a lot of famous people hung out at. I can't remember the name, but you were talking about, being meeting a lot of famous people out there.
Yeah, it was called it's still there. It's called Il Fornaio, and that's over at 310 or 301 Beverly Drive. And so it's like it's like a block over from Rodeo Drive. So it's like you're in the heart of it. I got to I was a waiter, and I got to meet, Val Kilmer, John Voight, Jerry Springer. I got the, David Faustino from Married with Children. I mean, a lot of people, man. And then I hung out at the Comedy Store, and my dear friend, Eleanor Kerrigan, who's also a South Philly girl, a ton of brothers. I used to work with her brother, Billy the Kid. He worked at Bookbinders with my brother. I mean, we had a long history. So Eleanor Kerrigan, consequently, she was engaged to Andrew Dice Clay. So when I went out there, she brought me around. I got to hang out with her and Dice, Dom Herrera, another South Philly legend
Yeah.
who went to St. Nick's, by the way.
That's right. Yeah.
And Dom Herrera was, and they were. It still feels like it was a dream. It was an amazing, amazing experience. Hung out with Paulie Shore. One night I'm in a comedy store. Paulie Shore, he's all like drunk out of his mind. And it's just some girl there, and I'm like talking to her, blah, blah. And I had no idea, and then didn't realize until afterwards it was Britney Spears.
Well, nice.
So it was pretty. It's just a crazy town, man. I miss it. But I'm due up. I think maybe this spring I might go for the Beverly Hills Film Festival. Through my show Inside Hollywood with Vinny, I got to meet a lot of really amazingly. I got to meet a lot of celebrities. I got to interview Michael Madsen. Before he died.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up that I saw you had a 2-part interview with, mercy on his soul. And I didn't really get a chance to really watch it, but what was it like interviewing Michael Madsen?
Well, first I have to give my thanks to my buddy who set it up, Dominique. So Dominic Milano, who's a filmmaker out there. He's originally from Italy, and he's French and Italian. And his mother was actually a actress in Italy who did a lot of movies back then with a lot of like big names, like spaghetti westerns.
Right.
And even more than that, like she worked with like Sergio Leone and Fellini and those guys. But anyway, so Dominique was a cool guy. I got to interview him. We became immediate friends. Right. So then he says, I definitely want you to interview Michael Madsen because he did his documentary, which is a great documentary, by the way, American Badass. You got to watch it.
Check it out.
So he, I was like, I really wanted it to happen, but I said, I'm not going to keep my fingers, I'm not going to hold my breath. You never know. People sometimes they just want to be nice and they want to see if they want to do you a favor. But I couldn't, Michael Madsen. I'm like,
right.
But he did. He hooked it up, man. So I got a chance to, and he was so cool. He was like, in the interview, he says, he's like, look, he's like, I was just a guy, kid from Chicago. I took a shot. Right. He's like, it was really nothing special. He's like, I just, I found my little niche with acting, and he got to be friendly with. He did his first scene was in War Games. He played a part in War Games, small bit part in War Games. But for whatever reason, he started to just link up with other people. One thing led to another, and then he met with Tarantino, and then
Reservoir Dogs.
He did that, and it just kept blowing up. And it's tragic, man, because he was really just a sweet, honest guy. I was telling him how I had some ideas for a story, and he was like, I would love to do a comedy with you. He's like, I'm tired of doing the same old like hard characters. I would love to do something funny. Right. And then 6-7 months later, here he passed away. It was horrible.
Wow, too young too.
Yeah.
Early 60s or mid.
Yeah.
I mean, he played a great role in Donnie Brasco, with Al Pacino and Johnny Depp, and just unfortunate, passed away. I was going to ask you, what inspired you to start making films and eventually launching Inside Hollywood?
Well, the podcast, let's go back to social media first, because that'll kind of piece everything together. But just about 3 years ago, I started, I was always like kind of on Facebook. It was always on Facebook, MySpace way back. Right. But a friend of mine was telling me, you should really get with Instagram because, and I was like, I didn't realize the video component. I think it was just they were starting to do reels. It wasn't really a big deal.
Right.
And I was like watching some of the stuff and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. This looks like this could be fun. So I started out with like 50, I might have had like 50 friends that I had on there, followers, friends and family. So I started really getting more aggressive with building up my social media and just feeling my way around, doing funny stuff, doing a little bit of food stuff, just whatever helps, stuck to the wall. And then from that, I realized like something attracted me to the whole podcast thing. Although I really don't like the word podcast because it's more of an interview show. It's it's a show. It's an online show. It's not really a podcast. But for better or for worse, that's the colloquial term. So I started realizing like I like to talk to people. So naturally, I wanted to see what I could do. So I just started interviewing people that I knew. Anybody that might have had any, maybe Joey Iwood might have been one of my first guests.
Mhm.
And so, it's the Michelle Trainer, who's a comedian. She was my very first person that I interviewed. So I just started interviewing people, and then it just grew gradually. And then as my following grew, that I think became more attractive to people that I wanted to interview, because people do look at that, right? They look at, like,
Right.
how much following do you have? Am I going to go on your show, and who's going to listen to me? And am I going to waste my time? People, it's
Right.
fortunate time. And then you have people that they don't care what kind of following you have. They just want, like, the exposure, So then I started having people
Right.
reaching out to me, and different actors or actresses and directors. And then you build sort of like, I started to build legitimacy through the people I was interviewing. And then, I get people like Michael Madsen. And then I got, not to mention so many people. I mean, my hero is my idol has always been George Gallo, who did
Mhm.
Wise Guys, Midnight Run, 29th Street,
Right.
Comeback Trail. Like, amazing. This guy's over here directing De Niro and Morgan Freeman, and he's on my show. And I grew up watching Wise Guys, my favorite show, and I just always,
Right.
I've been trying to track him down for years, and then and then we became friendly through that, and then other filmmakers and other actors,
Oh.
Brandy Roderick, who's, she was very famous for Baywatch, and she was a Playboy Playmate, and she did a ton of things. Antonio Sabato Jr. and
Right.
we became friendly, and then we become friendly with these people. It's pretty cool. 99% of the time, I actually connect with Lou Lombardi, who's a great, fantastic actor, filmmaker. He was in The Sopranos. He played the federal agent.
Right. Okay.
Excuse me. He's such a great guy. I linked up with a lot of people, and then
Good.
that's what really made me want to then to start to get into filmmaking, because I was like, you know what? I always like to write since I was really
Mhm.
little. I always was like a storyteller, and I studied the art of screenwriting, and I realized one thing that's really important. Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows nothing, as they say. It really just comes down to seeing the movie in your head, putting it on paper, and then trying to figure out what it's going to take to make it happen. It's not
Right.
easy, but you got to really just, you got to give it a shot.
Well, it's like you were saying. You've the one interview you did. You're like, if you want to do something, you jump right into it and just be obsessed with it. Like you were saying, that's how you become successful. You just keep
Yeah,
working at it and something you love.
there's a lot to be said about just just being, not giving in to wanting to quit. Like, you just have to be persistent.
Right.
It's just about consistency. Want to do it. There's times where I'm like, there's been a guest or two here and there where, like, oh man, like, they're very demanding. I don't get that at all. Very,
Right.
very seldom. But you might get that one guest who really makes you work for it, and like, we're
Hmm.
not even getting paid for this,
Oh yeah. Right. Oh,
you
I
know,
same here. Like I enjoy. I'm a people person. Love interviewing. Just talking. It's just love it. I'm probably since the beginning of September I've been doing this, and like I said, I'm still learning behind the scenes, but I think I'm getting it down. Besides the snafu earlier, but it's fun. Like met a lot. It's you may not be getting paid for, it, but I've come across a lot of great people. Just like yourself and Billy, and it's fun. Yeah, sometimes I do get a little nervous, like, but it's just talking, and I appreciate you taking your time coming on here tonight.
yeah, absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. And look, it's a community thing. We all have to kind of
Right,
help each other out and build each other up. And,
right.
and I talk to other podcasters too. And, if we can exchange, sometimes you're able to exchange guests. Sometimes you're able
Oh
to,
yeah,
do stuff to help one another. Just in the middle, just as much as just promoting other people and sharing.
all right,
It's hard when you're a little guy too, because, people get jaded as they start to climb certain levels.
right.
I used to take it personally, but then you realize, you know, like, all right, for instance, if I had, 100 people, 100 followers, am I
Hmm.
really going to expect this guy with 100,000 followers to go and share my
Right.
story? Like, yeah, people do you a favor here and there, but you just got to earn it yourself. You just got to, day by day, keep chopping away at it and just keep building.
Well, I started. I've been doing it 6 years, and I started doing sports, but Philly sports. But then it's like you get tired. It's like this. This town. It's all Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. Like 24/7, and it's like how much can you talk about the Eagles? So, I mean, I always loved movies. I was always big into music, movies, mafia stuff, the guy stuff. But, I just wanted to, what the hell, give it a shot. Start interviewing, enough of that. I don't want to keep blabbing away about it.
That's our job, but no, and I hear you, man. I enjoy it too. And you have to, if you don't enjoy it, you can't do it. You can't, if it starts to be like work, you got to just give up. You have to enjoy it.
Want to play the video that Gianni Russo that you said.
Sure.
Hi, this is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo from The Godfather. Well, I'm going to make you an offer you shouldn't refuse, okay? Check out my friend Vinny, my paisano Vinny, from South Philly. You're going to love his show. Tune it in. You may even catch me on it telling some stories about my life. Remember, Vinny from South Philly. I'll find out if you're not listening. Hi, this is Gianni Russo.
Hit that. Yeah, I did see your 2-part interview with Mr. Russo, and that was, it must have been something interviewing, just with him being in The Godfather and playing Carlo. And
yeah, no, it was exciting. I mean, yeah, who doesn't remember him? And
right.
The Godfather is such an iconic movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a masterpiece. I mean, let's face it. So being able to interview anybody who had anything remotely to do with it was a big deal.
Right.
And he was great, man. He was very open. I made sure I respected him and promoted him and his business. And I just interviewed him again recently. He's got another book out. And he's a great guy, man. And a lot of fun. Some people give him a hard time, which I don't understand. I don't like that. There's a lot of people. That's the other thing about social media and this type of stuff that we do too. You always got those knuckleheads, but you got to ignore that stuff. You just have to ignore the ignorant and just keep plugging away.
Right. Now, since you've been doing Inside Hollywood, who's the most famous person you have interviewed?
Probably, I would have to say Michael Madsen, but there's a lot of people that are, that are up there too with him. He might have been, I don't know if there is such a way to really a criteria. But he was an A-lister. Let's face it, Michael Madsen. I mean, he's an A-lister. Everybody knows his face. If you don't know his name, which you should, you definitely know his face. But again, mentioned Lou Lombardi. I'm a big fan of Joe Cortese. Joe Cortese, who was in Green Book and a ton of other movies. He's been around. He's actually the one who connected De Niro with Pesci. He was very close with Pesci.
No,
and he's the one who connected them. He tells a story. You can watch my show watch my episode on Inside Hollywood video on YouTube. Especially with Joe Cortese, and you'll watch and he'll tell you the whole story. Like they drove to Vegas, this and that, and it's an amazing story. And he was supposed to be in Raging Bull. There was another character that they wound up cutting out. Pesci stayed in. He got cut out, and unfortunately, he didn't make the movie. But that's kind of what led to Pesci's kind of break.
Actually, I did see part of the interview, and Joe Cortese was saying how the gentleman from GQ magazine approached him about being a model, paying him $150 a day, and like how you talked about George Gallo being one of your idols, just as a writer and stuff, with Raging Bull and Bad Boys and Wise Guys.
Yeah, and George Gallo was a guy that I remember growing up. I literally grew up watching Wise Guys, right? And then one day I said to myself, like, who wrote this? Who the hell wrote this movie? This is so funny. I was a big fan. And George Gallo, and I started looking into him. Then I realized, wow, he's a painter. He loves doing Pennsylvania landscape,
right?
Realism. he's an amazing artist, and he does this and he does that. So I've been trying to get a hold and actually like get to meet him or talk to him since probably 2011. And then 14 years later, I finally get the chance to interview him. So it was a really big thrill. And the thing that I noticed when I interviewed a lot of these people after now it's been 2 years, right, that I've been doing this. They're just like you and me, man. They really are just really a lot of them. They're just real people. They're just they're
Right.
thinking about bills. They're thinking about this. So now I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like I mentioned earlier, I don't get starstruck. So it's a good thing in the sense that I can be comfortable having a discussion and interview with somebody without being like, "Oh my god, I love you," and being like slobbering and being like,
Right.
people don't want to hear that. Like it's very
Nah, I
unprofessional.
guess.
So you can't be with they call that being a fanboy, like in that's what they
Right.
call it. So I could stay professional, interview people, and then they feel really comfortable, really happy that I'm not doing that nonsense. On the other hand, though, it's sad that you lose that sense of excitement.
Right.
I mean, you're still excited, like, wow, I got to interview this person or that. But that, like when you're a kid and you're like,
Oh yeah.
wow, like, your eyes are like as big as salt.
Sauces. Right. Oh yeah. I mean, it's like a little kid, seeing a famous baseball player, basketball, football, whatever. Like, getting to meet your idol is like the biggest thrill at that age. It's just going back. Like, I get it. I mean, meeting like some people I've interviewed Dave Raymond, the first Philly fanatic, like, back when you were younger, it'd be like incredible, which is very nice gentleman. But it was after a while you get to meet some people and it's kind of like, the starstruck isn't there anymore.
Yeah, it wears off, but that's a good thing. That means you're getting.
Yeah, blessed to meet, like you and just everybody I met along the way over time. And no, I met, just fortunate to be doing this. Not everybody gets a chance to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
Some people don't have a nerve to sit in front of the camera, and it takes guts.
Yeah, it's a privilege, man. It really is, and I've always been lucky to find always run into people that I have to say it's a weird thing, but I've always been able to connect with like stars or athletes. Like I said,
Mhm.
even with the Rocky movie, I was supposed to go to work that day, and meanwhile, who the hell knew I was only being in a couple scenes. I was there the whole. I had to call that. I was there a whole day and night. With the Victor's Cafe, or
Right.
they were doing a scene out there, and
Right.
now, but even before that, like Joe Frazier, he came into Toronto's, which is the Marano's used to own over there. I worked there back in like the '90s, in the mid '90s,
Mhm.
and he came in there, and I'll never forget Joe Frazier. Here's a great story. He comes in, he buys the whole bar a drink. Nobody bought him a
Wow.
drink back, which I thought was the weirdest thing.
Wow.
So I bought him a drink back, and I started talking to him. He's like, "Yeah," he's like, "No, thank you." He really appreciated it. I was the only one that
Right.
bought him a drink back. Again, I couldn't understand that. And we became like he was, he was messing around. He's making me feel his biceps. He's like, "There's now you know who really won them fights."
With him and Ali, the throw in Manila, and
And at that point, I think he was in his 60s, and his freaking biceps felt like cinder blocks, man.
right.
But anyway, so like I've always been in these situations with people and things like it's just it's I worked for the Four Seasons in Philly. I've always worked in restaurants, Palumbo's, Dante Luigi's, Ralph's, Toronto. I mentioned, but when I worked for the Four Seasons, I met Paulie from because they were staying at the Four Seasons. I seen Stallone again inside the lounge. I seen the guy who played Paulie, Burt Young. He gave me $50 for getting a glass of water.
Oh,
Nicest guy ever. I got to talking to him. Very cool. I met Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers, who I was always a major fan of when I was younger. I always met I remember being in Atlantic City with my buddies years ago and meeting Tony Bennett's daughter,
wow.
and actually between us, I actually got to kiss her. Like we were hanging out.
Nice.
So I
Good for
can
you.
brag about that. But
Hey.
her name's Antonia. She's beautiful. This was
Wow,
25
sure.
years. 25 years ago, maybe. I don't know.
No, considered I played Rags to Riches in the one of the promos.
Ah, nice, nice. Yeah, I lost track of her. Who knows? But
Right.
like crazy stuff always seemed to happen to me, like in a good way, you know.
Oh yeah,
But
right place at the right time.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
But
speaking of South Philly, I mean, it's you did the little short reel of Mara's, unfortunately, 98 years and closing, and just it's like another Philly icon, just South Philly icon, no more. And that's it's a shame because like Palumbo's, we were talking off air before that, and I was like, all the rap, like you were saying on the other show, like the Rat Pack were going there, and just like all that great stuff that made South Philly what it was years ago.
yeah, it was the center of the universe for a time, because there was a lot of influence here. I mean, the Italian American
Right.
community was really strong. You
Right.
had a lot of people inside that community that had a lot of power and had a lot of connections, and you had all those people, Jimmy Durante and Sinatra and Sammy Davis and all these guys. They were nonstop at Palumbo's in Philly. They were also in North Philly. There's I forget the gentleman's name. It was an Italian guy who had a restaurant club around Fifth and Pike,
Mm-hmm.
which is North Philly, and it was a concentration of Italians that used to live around that general area. And he had like a nightclub, sort of like a Palumbo's, and he had a ton of stars going there. We're talking about the 50s and 60s and so on.
Right.
And but South Philly, I mean, yeah, there's nothing like Mara's being just recently closing was a bit sad. It's just these places,
Right.
like the Melrose, like all these
Oh
little
yeah.
these are like institutions, and when these places close, it's significant not just because of the building or the food. It's because there's something that you were raised
Right.
around, that there's a lot of memories, there's a lot of emotional attachment to these places, and when they close, it's a death. It really literally is a
It
death.
is like just like you said in the reel you did. It's like losing a friend and going to a wake. It's actually there was a place before our time over in Cherry Hill called the Latin Casino that had like, if you remember in the movie, it's one about Jimmy Hoffa that Martin
The
Scorsese.
Irishman.
If they actually takes place over there, because I think Pesci said to De Niro, we took out a president. Now, basically talking about whacking Jimmy Hoffa is what what it seemed like the scene was about.
Mm.
So
Well, I have and these are all reels I got to start to probably do, but
right,
so like there's when they did The Irishman, right? They used Villa de Roma, which is another classic Italian restaurant,
right,
great food that I grew up a
oh
block or
yeah,
two away from. And they also have the Friendly Lounge, which I know the owners of that place, and that place has been around forever. But they didn't shoot, they didn't film it in Philly. That's it.
yeah,
Really made, it didn't for me, and I don't know all the reasoning behind it, but you
right,
have great tax credits in Pennsylvania. There's no reason why they shouldn't have, but they should have shot it on location, the Italian market, at the Villa, at Friendly Lounge. They
right.
really should have did that. And I have a really big gripe with that. And from what I understand, allegedly, I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't even think that Scorsese really took care of the places and things that he mentioned in Philly.
All right, because I don't know if a lot of people even know this, but Harvey Keitel played Angelo Bruno
Yeah.
in the movie, and it's nothing was shot here. Why not? Like you said, on location with all the nostalgia down there with all the
It's
restaurants.
authentic.
Right.
It's authentic. And I think it's just snobbery. And I hate to say and be critical, but I just think it's a bit of snobbery. I think these people, they don't want to go through the aggravation of working in tight. Maybe what I'm assuming wherever they shot, they had a lot more space. It's a little tighter in the time, but regardless, I think it authenticity is important. Me as a an up and comer, as this little nobody, I want to be as authentic as possible, man. I don't want I want the people to really feel like this is a real thing with real people.
All right. I mean, just like you said, the authenticity. I know some years back they did 10th and Wolf, and I think they did that in Pittsburgh.
Well, they
Shot it on location.
right, and that again, not great reviews, you know. And
Right.
I think they were a little scared to do it here at that time, if I understand the story right. But regardless, they these places they don't the intention is good, but again, I like for instance, we're talking about the IRA while we're on the subject. I don't get why the casting. Some of these people that are casting some of these roles, like Sebastian Maniscalco,
Right.
I don't get that.
Joe Gallo.
I don't get that. I don't get. There's so many fabulous, great actors on the East Coast, or even could bring them in from the West Coast, whatever. But I don't get it.
Right.
To me, you can't do that. I hate to be like a crybaby about it, but I've said, and a lot of people agree with me. I just think that the casting was off, the locations were off.
Well,
Could have been better.
I don't know. I honestly, and all three actors are phenomenal icons, but I actually think the movie Hoffa with Jack Nicholson was better. I just think the way I just couldn't see Al Pacino playing Jimmy Hoffa.
I agree.
Just didn't seem to. Just wasn't a role for him, I don't think. And I mean, the way they hate to say it, as much as I love De Niro, just him playing Frank Sheeran was just they try to make him look younger, and I think they said Sheeran was tall, so they made him like wear those, I don't know what kind of shoes you would call. Yeah, but
I think they're trying to put I get the impression, I could be wrong, and I'm sorry to be disrespectful to anybody out there, but I get the impression with Alto Nights, and I think I'm getting the impression they're rushing to make these mob movies because they're afraid they're not going to be around forever, so they're just trying to rush and just pump out whatever they can pump out, but they're sacrificing, again, the word authenticity, but they're sacrificing the audience.
What did you think of Alto Nights? I didn't
like it. I didn't like the dual role. They gotta you gotta think outside the box.
Right.
And that's why my series, which I'm gonna be pitching soon, The Old Guard, it's something different, man. It's something different. It's not the Sopranos, it's not the same old,
right.
A little more serious, and that I'll give a little bit of it away, but it's about a guy who's never supposed to get out of jail. He's a mob capo who got life in prison.
Nice.
But the government decides that they want to run a black ops. They want to do a secret operation to clean up the drugs in the neighborhood. So what did they do? They started letting out some tough mobsters to restore order and power in the neighborhoods. But it's sort of a little trick. They don't want to give them too much power. They're just trying to use them. So it's all about everybody's trying to use everybody. But it's a really cool series, and I think it's strong.
Looking forward to it. Do you have a release date, or you can't put that
out? No, it's still right now. I'm at the point where I built out the actual story, like the series. Then you create what's called a Bible, and then that's when you start to line up. You get actors attached to it, or your director. And I got some people already attached to it that want to be they want to act in it. And then that's when once you have a fully fleshed out story with all the background, with where's it going from episode 1, 2, 3, like the full season, and you have actors attached to it, talent or directors, then that's when you can approach Paramount, Netflix, whoever. And then that's where it starts to get really, really interesting.
Nice. I was going to ask you, what's your top 5 mafia movies?
I'll be honest with you. I mean, of course, Godfather's got to be, top of it. But just the way it was just the story itself and the way it was shot was beautiful. Right. I love Casino. I think Casino was we don't mention Casino enough, but that's always a classic. Goodfellas, of course. I try to think a little bit outside the box, but it's hard to because those things are they're just well done. I mean, as far as the series, I always loved Boardwalk Empire. I thought Boardwalk Empire was a hell of a series, man. I really enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, with Steve Buscemi and.
I like The Sopranos. I mean, I don't want to talk badly about The Sopranos, but it was more comical in nature, and there was a lot of there was a lot of levity in it. But I think it's kind of like, it was good. It was well written. I didn't. The one thing, my bit major gripe with Sopranos, a lot of people think share this feeling. The casting again. We talk about the casting.
Right.
The son and the daughter. They did not look like they were anything related to James
Carmelo.
Gandolfini. They did
Yeah.
not look like mob kids. They
Right.
just that was that. But see what people don't understand too is, and I'm not saying this is in this case. It may or may
Right.
not be the case. But a lot of times it's some director or some big financier. You get their cousin involved, or
Right.
can you put my nephew in it? Can you put my niece in it? And that's that. If I have to give a tip out there for anybody who's making a film, if you're going to take money from people and they want you to put somebody that's related to them in something, that your girlfriend or something like that, be very careful, because if someone doesn't know how to act and someone's not doesn't look the part,
Mhm.
you're basically going to destroy your movie over
Right.
whatever few dollars they gave you.
I know it was always said. A lot of people said The Sopranos was some of the best written stuff of all time. But
And great actors. I mean, I had the
oh
pleasure,
yeah,
I interviewed Artie Pasquale, who was in it, and who else? Robert Finero was in it. I interviewed him, and they're great guys, man. And they're doing a great thing. My buddy Bobby Capone is actually doing a thing in soon in February. He's doing a dinner with Goodfellas and Soprano cast
I
members.
I did see that. I think it's in Jersey,
Yeah, it's going to be
Willingboro.
Philomena's in Blackwood. I believe it's in Blackwood, and Philomena's a great restaurant. I'm going to help him out by promoting it as well, and I should be there. So definitely encourage people to check that out. That's his company's Overtime Productions, and it's a
All
Goodfellas and
right.
Sopranos thing.
Yeah, I think it's in February sometime.
February, yep.
As a matter of fact, I think it was like $100 for to attend, but 150 for VIP or something.
Yeah.
It's actually looking into going to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be there. So if you're there, I'll see you there. And if anybody's watching,
Oh,
definitely. And I don't know how many tickets are left. I know they sold most of them. There's still a little bit left, but
right.
yeah, time is of the essence to grab them.
Yeah. Now I was going to say, you need any help, putting it out there, let me know. I'd be happy to share it out, or,
Yeah.
share your stuff as well. And, just, one hand washes the other. So it's
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. And that's really, we're all interdependent. We all need each other.
right.
So but yeah, and if I could just plug it away, just please, anybody's watching this, make sure that you're if any of my people are watching this, make sure you're following Fuji here and his great show, and please make sure you have to subscribe, hit the bell, and go through all the
Thank
social
you.
media and commenting a lot really does help. I'm at Inside Hollywood with Vinny. You can find that on YouTube as well. I encourage you to subscribe to that, and
You, um,
together we'll get there.
oh, definitely. Well, I mean, hey, if it doesn't ever happen for myself, hey, it's a blessing to meet, a person like yourself that's, you know, living your dream, and, everybody you've met along the way.
Yeah, man. Likewise, it's all about connecting with people and having fun and doing something that's a little bit of a stress reliever.
Do you have any other interviews coming up that you could share, or just you?
Yeah, so I got Steve Simeone that I'll be filming on Saturday. I'm not sure when this is airing, but he that's probably going to air towards the end of December. Steve Simeone, great comedian. He's a local guy. He's
Mhm.
just from right outside of Philly. Really funny guy. Spent some time in LA. He's also very tight. You might see him in a couple different things with Joey Diaz, and did a lot of. He's Joe Rogan. He's tight with a lot of these great
Okay.
comedians, and so
Right.
Steve's a cool guy, really good, nice guy. I have to put out an interview shortly with a great director, filmmaker out of New York named Claudio Balante. And Claudio is
Hmm.
he's from Milan, he's really Sicilian. And Claudio did Don Q with Armand Desante
Oh wow.
and Chuck Zito. It was a great, funny movie, man. I loved it. Don Q. And it's shot in Little Italy on Mulberry Street, which I have a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
friends. I have a lot of friends there, which I might be there next week. But anyway,
Oh, nice.
Claudio did a great job. So I interviewed him. We talked about that. Talked about Armand Desante. He's a
Great
phenomenal
actor.
actor. Yep.
Oh yeah.
And I we have people. If I usually get people from all over, mostly a lot of people from LA. I tend to get a lot of people from there. I just interviewed not
Right.
too long ago. You'll see on on my YouTube channel, you'll Nicole Travolta, who is
Yeah.
John Travolta's niece. Actually, I didn't really mention that because again, I don't want to be Mr. Fanboy here, but we didn't even mention that. But it's
Right.
actually John Travolta's niece, and she's done a lot of different episodes and TV. She starred with Charlie Sheen and a few different I think Two and a Half Men and another show as well. So she's really cool, like all cool people, man.
Say one to getting back to Armada Santa. There's a mafia movie. The HBO movie of Gotti. What's your...
Yeah. I mean, that was the best. So well written. Anthony Quinn, I mean, tremendous acting. Tremendous.
Big time.
They acted their butts off. It was, you couldn't have got a better, that's actually up there. I want to put that up there. I'm surprised that never got as much acclaim as it should have.
I know that's actually one of my favorite mafia. I think that's just underrated. Armada Sante, like you said, Anthony Quinn, Vincent Pastore,
yeah,
Tony Sirico, a lot of Uncle June. He played in The Godfather.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of his...
Dominic Chinese.
Yeah. Played who did he play in played Johnny Olin.
Played Johnny Olin. He did, yeah. Great actor. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, Vince, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know we're just about at the hour pinnacle here. So I want to thank you. If you could just let everybody know where to find you.
Well, normally I used to be on the corner of 10th and Christian, but you can find me. You can find me on Inside Hollywood with Vinny on YouTube. Please subscribe there. My moniker online is Vinny from South Philly. And you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Please search me out. Send me a message. Let me know how much you liked our episode. And if you're interested in filmmaking or learning the process or podcasting, send me a message. I'm happy to give you some advice. And if we have anything upcoming, I'll let you guys know. And of course, you as well, Fuji. Keep you guys ahead of the game on what's going on with me in the film biz.
I'd love to have you back on, chop it up again and, appreciate your time and coming on and, doing the interview.
It's been my pleasure. I appreciate you inviting me on, and I give my very best to you and all of your guests and all your followers out there and anybody who's from my side of the fence. Again, make sure you're checking out and following Fuji here.
Thank you, sir. Well, everybody, that'll do it. Everybody have a good week, good weekend. Just call a friend, call a relative you haven't talked to, mental health awareness. You just don't know what some people are going through today, especially the holidays. Everybody be blessed, be safe, have a good weekend, have a good night.
Yeah. Philly streets got a story to tell. Golden sun breaks the Liberty Bell. From the Trattoria to the stoop outside, feel good vibes in the city's pride.
Fuji's Philly flair, oh, it's everywhere. Good news flying like hands in the air. Hip hop grooves with a twist, so rare. Fuji's Philly flair, we're living